here. I haven't been with you for a while. Um, I have a new setup, so trying the new setup today. And I hope you can all hear me and see me and are able to join me because I want to talk about a very interesting topic that is of great interest to me, and that is the difference between science and scientism, but also um, go a little bit deeper into is science getting us closer to truth? Does science deny the existence of God? And fundamentally, can science get us to the heart of reality? So, right now, I am seeing so many messages from you, all of them saying hi, hello, namaste, namaste to all of you. But what I'd like to do is cover this topic and we'll go from there, okay? So, let's start with science. Science has been around for about 500 years. Scientific revolution occurred 500 years ago, and it took on a completely different um, leap about 100 years ago with the revolutions that we call quantum mechanics and theories of relativity. So, quantum mechanics, we attribute the pioneers are Niels Bohr and Wolfgang Pauli and Schrödinger and Paul Dirac, and of course, the man who invented the term quantum. Um, and there were many other people, including Einstein, although he was resistant to the idea. The man who invented the term quantum, I think, I forget now, but the pioneer, the real pioneer behind that was what's his name? Max Planck. Max Planck, Planck time, Planck scale, etc. Max Planck, Schrödinger. These were the great pioneers. A reluctant participant who was Albert Einstein, who, of course, gave us the theories of relativity, and both of them, general theory and what we call special theory. Special theory has to do with E is equal to mc squared, the constancy of the speed of time, no matter where you are, and how fast you're traveling. Speed of time is a constant. Mass is equal to energy. The general theory gave us a description of gravity. These theories do not match quantum theories. That's one of the hard problems right now, unifying all these theories. But science did take a leap 100 years ago. The scientific revolution is 500 years. And the agricultural revolution is about 12,000 years ago. And the cognitive revolution, when humans started creating constructs and narratives and stories, goes back about 30,000. So the scientific revolution is very new. Humans have existed as Homo sapiens less than 200,000 years. And yet it is because of the gifts of science that you and I are having this conversation. So does science give us access to truth? And here's my short answer: no. What does science do? What is science? Science is a methodology that employs very specific principles. Observation, you need an observer to do science. Theory, you need some concepts about what you're going to examine. Experiment, validation, or falsification. That's basically the scientific method. And this scientific method right now is based on a philosophy in science called physicalism, that there's an objective world out there and it's there for anyone to examine. And when we examine it through the scientific method, this is the results we get. These are the results we get. And you can repeat the experiment, validate it, or if many people repeat it, doesn't validate, falsify. That's the method. Is it giving us access to truth? And the answer is no. Science is giving us access to human perceptions within a narrow band of perceptual activity. So science is the experience. No, science is the construct that we call the objective world, which is actually a theoretical construct, a concept that there is a physical world out there. And this is how we explore it. And once we explore it, we can create technology. So that's amazing. But is it truth? And what is truth? Okay, truth is something that is true at all times for all people. And even if there were no people, truth remains truth. Okay, science is a way of examining a particular band of perceptual activity, less than 1% of the acoustic spectrum, less than 1% of the visual spectrum. So right now, as you're looking at me, you're seeing 1% of me, literally. The rest extends infinitely in all directions without any borders, literally, also. Is it giving us the truth? No. Is it giving us a useful model of the truth? Yes. The model of the truth is for what? For creating technology. Is science the ultimate panacea? No. Science can be used for divine purposes right now, hopefully. We're using it to exchange ideas and wisdom and knowledge. That's a divine purpose. Science can be used for healing. That's a divine purpose. Science can be used for increasing our capacity for relationship, and just about everything that we want in this world that we call physical. Science can help us. But it's not telling us who we are, what we want, what are our deepest desires, what makes life meaningful, is there purpose, is there free will, what is the basis of imagination or creativity or insight or intuition or imagination or love or compassion or empathy or joy or any of the things that make us so human. Science cannot give us the answers. And right now, science is based on mathematics, and then quantum mechanics, and then, of course, we have regular science based on what we call Newtonian constructs, physicalist constructs. The vast majority of scientists, because they believe in the existence of a physical world with fixed laws, do not believe in free will, do not believe in God, or do not believe in even the mind. They think the mind is a product of physical interactions, atoms, molecules, force fields, gravity, and so on. Of course, when you and I meditate or reflect, it becomes very difficult to see how gravity and force fields and atoms and molecules and the evolutionary process gave rise to mind, which we can't see, but we can experience, to consciousness, which we can't see, but we can experience, to so many things that we have going on in our experience of existence, that we can only quantify a part of that experience, measure it, and call it the scientific method. So yes, science is a useful model based on an ontology which says that the physical world is real. That's science. Second, what is scientism? Scientism is a religion. It means anything that we want to know, ultimately science will have the answers. Not realizing that we created science. Who came up with science? We came up with science. And now we have so much faith in this methodology that it's become almost like religion. And so scientism, and there are many apostles of so-called science that are actually purveyors of scientism. In other words, what we call apostles of scientism, a religion. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Truth. Well, there is relative truth and there's absolute truth. So what is relative truth? Well, relative truth is I'm a body, mind, I am a physical, biological organism in a physical world, in the theater of space, time, and causality. And that's relatively true, except that when I look at all these identities that I have and all the experiences that I have, they're constantly changing. So if they're constantly changing and they're so ephemeral that they go in and out as experience, every sensation, every image, every feeling, every thought, every idea, every perception is going in and out so fast that it's totally ungraspable. So science gives me relative truth of the scenery, but no idea of the seer or the mode of seeing, which is, of course, in our case, a human mode of seeing, not a butterfly mode of seeing, or a crocodile mode of seeing, or the mode of seeing that we would call a bat that knows the world through the echo of ultrasound, or the mode of seeing of a honeybee or a butterfly that navigates through ultraviolet. So when we start to see modes of knowing, then we realize that our biological organism is actually a sensor, a mode of seeing. And so it's not obviously who we are. And when we do deep reflection, who am I? Am I the changing body, or am I the awareness in which the body is a changing perceptual experience? Am I the changing mind with thoughts and feelings and images? Or am I the awareness in which thoughts and feelings and emotions come and go, and images, all experiences come and go? Then we realize that the only constant in every experience is the awareness. Everything else is a passing scene, a scenery, and the scenery is over by the time you actually see it. It's the past. So, relative truth. Very confusing, actually. If you're looking at a star somewhere in the Milky Way galaxy, millions of light years away, then you might be looking at a ghost. So, for those people who say, I don't believe in ghosts, actually, everything that you look at is a ghost. Why do I say that? Because by the time you look at what you are looking at, it doesn't exist. The best example is a star that could have burnt up its thermonuclear energy, exhausted its thermonuclear energy, burnt itself up into the heat death of absolute zero, and no longer exists. That happened 100 million years ago. But you will see it for another 100 million years. That's a ghost. But right now, as you see me, you're seeing a ghost. Because by the time you see me, that which is being seen is over. It's a fluctuating series of perceptual snapshots that looks like a movie because you're present in between the snapshot and in the snapshot. You meaning awareness, the only constant in every experience. So what is absolute truth? Absolute truth is awareness, the common ground of experience in every sentient being. The experience is different because the organism is different. The organism itself is a mode of knowing. And some of those modes of knowing overlap. You and your dog may have a relationship. You and your cat may have a relationship. I just met a woman who has a relationship with crows. And the crows can recognize her face. She can recognize them. She goes for a walk in San Francisco with her retinue of crows. That's cross-species communication with leaky margins. But otherwise, species stay within their range in terms of their bandwidth of experience. Of course, they relate to each other. We are all part of the food chain. And yet, it's a great mystery how we can communicate with other species. They can recognize danger calls and all of that. And yet, they have a completely different mode of knowing, completely different perceptual experience, because the biological organism itself is a mode of knowing. So, what is awareness? Awareness is all knowers, all modes of knowing, and all things known. And if we recognize that, then it's the same awareness in a honeybee, in a crocodile, in a plant, in you, in me, in a monkey. By the way, I just read that 97.5% of our genes are the same as a mouse. It's only 2.5% difference in our genetic makeup from a mouse, and less than 5%, 0.5% genetic difference between you and me and a monkey or a chimpanzee. So, what's the difference? A little difference in the spelling. The genes are words. The alphabet is the same: A, T, C, G, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine. But the alphabet is almost the same as well with other species. So, 65% of your genes are the same as a banana, and almost 85% are the same as a fruit fly, and on and on. So, awareness is one. Modes of knowing are almost infinite. Things to be known are infinite. For every thought you have, infinite more thoughts available. For every emotion, you've had infinite more available. And when you look at your life, you see you've had a wide range of thoughts, emotions, feelings. You've had so many experiences, and there's no limit. So, your fundamental absolute truth is you are pure awareness, pure consciousness, pure knowing, pure creativity, pure love, pure self regulation, pure self organization, pure evolution, pure recycling, and evolution to higher levels of creativity and abstraction and vision and manifestation. As self-aware beings, we have that capacity. But awareness is one, consciousness is one. Minds are innumerable. Minds are modes of knowing. Emotions are innumerable. And modes of knowing, even within the species, are innumerable. There are physical modes of knowing through perception. There are energetic modes of knowing. And there are energetic modes of knowing. There are subtle modes of knowing, mental modes of knowing, emotional modes of knowing, and even soul modes of knowing, Jiva, Atman, Brahman. So as we go from physical body to energetic body to subtle body to mind to intellect to ego to Jiva to Atma to Brahman, modes of knowing expand. And what we realize is that we are the absolute being having a human experience. And once we realize that, that's called self-realization. And self-realization is freedom. Freedom from all constructs, but also the ability to create new constructs. And therefore, new experiences, and therefore, new illusions. But it doesn't matter if illusion and you are embedded in the illusion as a body mind, even the body mind is an illusion. That's all part of experience. And if we experience the illusion as real, it feels real. We don't know the difference till we wake up. And then when we wake up, we can still enjoy the illusion, like going to a good movie, but not be terrified when the illusion turns into old age, infirmity, death, etc., etc. Who you are is infinite, non-conceptualizable, unimaginable, irreducible, fundamental, absolute truth. So the mantra for that is Sat Chit Ananda, absolute truth of existence. Existence and awareness are synonymous. Sat, Chit, awareness. Because without awareness, no knowing. Ananda, ultimate bliss. Why? Because we have the freedom to create whatever we want. So that's true manifestation. That's true law of attraction. Not just I think of good things, then I'll get good things. I think of bad things will happen, which is partly true. But you don't have to. You have to go beyond thinking altogether to the field of all possibilities, introduce sankalpa or intention in a very subtle way, even more subtle than a thought, and then leave it alone. And then awareness, which is self-organizing, self-correlating, self-regulating, self-evolving, takes care of the rest. Ultimate homeostasis and total freedom. Yes, Chit, Sat Chit Anand. That's what it means. So, science is a methodology. Scientism is a religion. Truth can be relative or absolute. And ultimate absolute truth is Sat Chit Ananda, existence, awareness, and joy. You choose what you want. And once you choose what you want, you'll get what you want. Okay, because intention organizes its own fulfillment. So now I'm looking at your comments and I'll refer to them. Law of attraction, yes. Who you are attracts everything that is synonymous with who you are. The world is as we are. What we see, we become. Looking at other comments. Somebody said, Deepak, we have common names. Hi, Deepak. Hi, Deepak. Roya says, so much to understand, learn, and practice. Yes, that's the joy of existence. Chandrina asks, what is meta-human? So meta means beyond, and so meta-human means beyond human. Okay, beyond human, because the human mind is a conditioned mind. Meta-human is the free mind. Metacognition is being aware of being aware. And meta-reality is absolute truth. I'm looking at your questions. So there's some concern about people taking the vaccine. So let me just give you my opinion and leave it from there. Obviously, everybody should make their own choice. So I grew up in India, where when I was growing up, tuberculosis, malaria, diphtheria, tetanus, measles, smallpox, chickenpox were killing many people. Many of my friends died of smallpox. Those who didn't die were scarred for the rest of their life. I knew many relatives who died of polio. Those who didn't die, some of them got paralyzed for the rest of their life. So it's difficult to convince me that vaccines don't save lives. In fact, in my experience, they saved hundreds of millions of lives. Hundreds of millions of lives. And of course, those vaccines 50, 60 years ago were not as sophisticated as the ones we have now. Now we can read literally the barcode of a gene and replicate it and fiddle with it and mutate it and even correct mutations. All that is coming. So today I think it is safer and actually would save millions of lives. But you have a right to your opinion, and everybody has freedom to do what they choose to do. I'm just giving my opinion. When we leave this dimension, what next? We never leave any dimension because we are all dimensions. What is happening right now, there's a certain fluctuation in consciousness, in this case, human consciousness. These fluctuations are called, in Sanskrit, they're called vrittis, Vrittis. Vritti means fluctuation, excitement, or what do you call it? The going on and off of fluctuations. Energy fluctuates. These vrittis ultimately manifest as sensations, perceptions, feelings, images, thoughts. The collection of this we construct as the physical world, but actually there's no physical world. Okay, there's just vrittis. So what happens when we leave this dimension? We don't leave it. We were never born and we don't die. Only experience is born and experience dies in every microsecond. The continuity of experience is the presence of being. And being is timeless, eternal, so it doesn't go anywhere. It just watches the show, like you're watching a movie. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And of course, the movie is subject to revision as well. So if you maintain yourself as absolute truth, there's no fear of death. There's only the knowing of inseparability with everything in the cosmos. And there's also transcendence from these constructs. So, yes, somebody said, do you believe that everything always as it is as it should be? Yes, it is, but we can interpret it in many ways. In fact, we interpret it in infinite ways, depending on our level of awareness. Are there different levels of transcendence? No, transcendence is absolute, but there are different levels of awareness. So we have waking state, sleep state, dreaming state, transcendental consciousness, or self-awareness, cosmic consciousness, divine consciousness, unity consciousness, and all of these create different experiences of reality, because reality is different in different states of consciousness. So is your biology different in different states of consciousness. Do you think being cremated is better than being buried? It doesn't matter. You're not there, so it doesn't matter. Cremation takes you back to absolute fundamental existence, minerals. Whereas being buried, you recycle through other biological organisms, especially bacteria. But it's not you. It's same thing that constitutes everything. Minerals, atoms, molecules, force fields, human constructs are recycling. So do what you want. Some people actually allow their bodies to be fed by vultures. That's the Parsi religion. Infinity is supernatural. No. Infinity is natural. Everything else that you see is supernatural because it's not real. Thank you for your opinion regarding vaccines. That's enlightening. Well, thank you. Don't have to believe me. Do you believe in planning for the future? I do have intentions for the future, but I'm not a planner. It evolves spontaneously, and it evolves beautifully. How do you attract bad things when all the bad things are around you? Well, when you know that it is the mind, the conditioned mind, that is projecting the bad things, you stop your own projection and you stop participating in that. So, so-called bad, so-called good are actually evolutionary impulses. If there was only evolution, the universe would expand and evolve so rapidly that you would be in the singularity, in the heat death of absolute zero, before you could say Jack Robinson. And if there was only entropy, you would go back into the black hole or singularity from where you emerged. It is evolution and entropy that we interpret as good, bad, etc., that keeps things going. Okay. God. We didn't address God. So you see, God is such a loaded term. Some people, I can see even comments here, believe in Jesus Christ, otherwise you're doomed. Believe in Muhammad, otherwise you're doomed. Believe in Krishna, otherwise doomed. So most of the time when we refer to God, We have an image of God. We have a name for God. We have a concept for God. If you can imagine God, if you can conceptualize God, can name God, it's not God. The infinite cannot be limited. So God is unimaginable, and God is absolute truth. If we understand that the God or the word God represents generation of experience, organization of experience, delivery and destruction of experience. Generation of experience, organization of experience, delivery of experience, G-O-D, and destruction. And then again, generation. Death, resurrection is creativity. So what do we call God? The creator. And God, as we usually define it, is a human construct, as Devi Silva says. Devi Silva, correct. Okay, so I think we've addressed everything and that we were going to today. And I thank you for your participation. And we'll continue this conversation. And I'm very grateful to you. And here we end today. Thank you. I'll be back again. And I hope you like my new setup. And I will try and improve it. Somebody asked Ranjana, God is love. Yes, love as the absolute truth, not as a sentiment, not as an emotion, but the ultimate truth at the heart of creation. Love is God. Good ending.